There's a level of comfort that looks like success but is actually slow death. And today you'll discover why the most dangerous thing in your life isn't failure or hardship. It's the warm, safe prison you've built around yourself that feels so good you don't realize it's destroying you. Have you ever met someone who seems to have everything figured out? Stable job, nice apartment, predictable routine, no major problems. But if you look closely, you'll notice something disturbing. They're not growing, they're not building anything, they're not becoming anyone new. They're just maintaining, comfortable, safe, and completely stuck. While you think they have it all together, they're actually dying slowly, one comfortable day at a time. And you know what people say about them? They're smart for playing it safe. They're mature for not taking risks. They've got their life under control. But what if I told you that 500 years ago, samurai warriors understood something that modern society has completely forgotten? They knew that comfort is the most dangerous enemy a human being can face. More dangerous than fear, more dangerous than failure, more dangerous than death itself. They called it Ansoku no Wana, the comfort trap, and they built their entire training system around one principle: voluntary discomfort, deliberately choosing the harder path when an easier one is available. Once you understand why they did this, you'll never look at your comfortable life the same way again. But there's a catch. What I'm about to show you will make you deeply uncomfortable. It will challenge everything you've been taught about success, safety, and the good life. Before I continue, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and comment on one area of your life where you know you've gotten too comfortable. This helps me understand what you're dealing with and helps the channel reach people who need to hear this. Thank you so much for your attention. Now, back to the video. The story I'm about to tell you is about a man named Robert. Robert was 41 years old, worked in finance, made 6 figures, owned a house in the suburbs, had a wife and 2 kids. On paper, Robert had won. He'd done everything society told him to do. Good education, stable career, financial security, nice family. But Robert had a problem that was eating him alive, and he couldn't talk to anyone about it because saying it out loud made him sound ungrateful. Robert was miserable, not in an obvious way. He wasn't depressed or anxious. He was just empty. He'd wake up every morning, follow the same routine, go to the same job, have the same conversations, come home to the same house, watch the same shows, and go to bed. Then repeat. Every day was identical, safe, predictable, comfortable, and completely meaningless. He'd stopped learning anything new 5 years ago. He'd stopped challenging himself 3 years ago. He'd stopped dreaming about anything different 2 years ago. He was 41 years old and already felt like his life was over. Not because anything bad had happened, but because nothing was happening at all. He was trapped in comfort. Robert would lie awake at night thinking about the person he used to be. In his 20s, he was hungry. He took risks, tried new things, failed, learned, grew. He was uncomfortable all the time, but he was alive. Now, he was comfortable all the time, but he felt dead inside. He'd gained 30 pounds because cooking healthy food was harder than ordering takeout. He'd stopped working out because his couch was more comfortable than the gym. He'd stopped reading because scrolling his phone was easier than focusing on a book. He'd stopped having real conversations with his wife because surface-level small talk was safer than vulnerable honesty. Every single choice he made was the comfortable choice, and every comfortable choice was making him weaker, softer, smaller. He knew this. He felt it. But he couldn't stop, because comfort is the most addictive drug that exists. It doesn't feel like a problem. It feels like a solution. Everything changed when Robert's company sent him to Japan for a business conference. He had a free afternoon and decided to visit a kendo dojo he'd read about online. He'd done martial arts in college and thought it might be interesting to watch a class. He walked into the dojo and immediately noticed something strange. The room was freezing. It was winter, and there was no heating. The students were training in light clothing, sweating and breathing hard, but nobody was complaining about the cold. After the class, Robert asked the instructor why they didn't heat the room. The instructor, an older man named Takeshi, said, "We train in discomfort on purpose. Comfort weakens the spirit. When you're comfortable, you stop growing. When you're uncomfortable, you're forced to adapt. Adaptation is growth." Robert said, "But why make things harder than they need to be?" Takeshi smiled. "That's the question of a comfortable man. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you did something difficult when you didn't have to?" Robert thought about it. He couldn't remember. Takeshi said, "That's the comfort trap. You only do what's necessary, and you choose the easiest version of necessary. Over time, you lose the ability to handle difficulty. Then, when difficulty finds you, and it always does, you break." Takeshi explained that samurai warriors practice something called kanon, deliberate hardship. Every day they would intentionally choose discomfort in small ways to keep their capacity for suffering strong. They would sit in cold water, fast when food was available, sleep on hard floors when beds were available, train when they were tired instead of resting, not because they enjoyed suffering, but because they understood that comfort makes you fragile. Takeshi said, "Modern people think comfort is the goal. They work hard to build a comfortable life, and then they wonder why they feel weak and empty. Comfort isn't the goal, growth is the goal, and growth only happens at the edge of discomfort." He looked directly at Robert. "You came here because you're trapped, aren't you? You have everything you're supposed to want, but you feel dead inside." Robert felt like he'd been punched in the chest. This stranger had just described exactly what he couldn't put into words. Takeshi continued, "The trap isn't that you're comfortable. The trap is that comfort feels like safety. Your brain is designed to seek comfort because for most of human history, comfort meant survival. But in the modern world, comfort means stagnation. You're not surviving. You're slowly dying." He handed Robert a piece of paper with Japanese writing on it. "This is the practice of kanon. 7 daily discomforts. Do these for 90 days, and you'll remember what it feels like to be alive." Robert looked at the list. "Wake up when your alarm goes off. No snooze button. Take a cold shower every morning for 3 minutes. Do 30 minutes of physical exercise before breakfast. Eat 1 meal a day that you don't enjoy but is healthy. Have 1 difficult conversation you've been avoiding. Do 1 task you've been procrastinating on. Go to bed without screens for the last hour." Robert read the list and thought it seemed extreme. Takeshi said, "It seems extreme because you've been living in the comfort trap for so long that normal effort feels like suffering. This isn't extreme. This is how humans are supposed to live. With challenge, with effort, with growth. Try it for 90 days. If you don't feel different, go back to your comfortable life." Robert took the list home. Day 1, Monday morning. Robert's alarm went off at 6. His hand reached for the snooze button out of habit. Then he remembered Takeshi's words. He forced himself out of bed immediately. He walked straight to the bathroom and turned the shower to cold. He stood under the freezing water for 3 minutes. It was torture. His body screamed at him to stop, but he didn't stop. When he got out, something had shifted. He felt awake, alert, alive, not comfortable, but alive. He did 30 minutes of exercise, push-ups and running in place. His body hated it. He made a healthy breakfast instead of grabbing a muffin. He identified the difficult conversation he needed to have. He'd been avoiding telling his wife that he felt disconnected from her. That evening, he had the conversation. It was uncomfortable. She cried. He cried. But they were finally being honest. That night, he turned off his phone an hour before bed and read a book. He slept better than he had in months. Day 1 was the hardest day of his life in years. But when he went to bed, he felt something he hadn't felt in a decade. He felt proud of himself. Day 2 was slightly easier. Day 3, his body started expecting discomfort. Day 7, he completed the first week. He'd done all 7 discomforts every single day. He felt different, stronger, clearer, more present. By week 2, something unexpected happened. Robert started looking for more discomfort. He started taking the stairs instead of the elevator. He started doing his hardest work tasks first instead of putting them off. He started saying no to things he didn't want to do instead of people-pleasing. He was actively choosing difficulty. By week 4, people at work noticed. Someone said, "You seem different, more confident." His wife said, "I don't know what's going on with you, but I like it. You're actually here." By week 6, Robert had lost 12 pounds. Not because he was dieting, but because he was choosing the harder option consistently, cooking instead of ordering, walking instead of driving, moving instead of sitting. By week 8, he realized he wasn't the same person anymore. The man who avoided discomfort was gone. He was now someone who sought it out. By day 90, Robert's transformation was complete. He'd done all 7 daily discomforts for 90 consecutive days. He was in the best shape of his life. His relationship with his wife was better than it had been in years. His work performance had improved dramatically. But the biggest change was internal. He no longer felt dead inside. He felt capable. He felt alive. He understood what Takeshi had meant. Comfort wasn't safety. Comfort was a slow death. Discomfort was life. Robert wanted to understand the science behind why this worked. He found research from a psychologist at Yale who studies human resilience. The researcher explained that the human nervous system requires stress to stay calibrated. When you avoid all discomfort, your baseline stress tolerance drops. Small problems start feeling like emergencies. Minor inconveniences feel unbearable. You become psychologically fragile. But when you voluntarily expose yourself to manageable discomfort daily, your baseline stress tolerance increases. The same problems that used to overwhelm you now feel manageable. You become anti-fragile. You get stronger from stress instead of weaker. The researcher also explained something called hedonic adaptation. When you're always comfortable, your brain recalibrates its baseline. What used to feel good now feels neutral. You need more and more comfort to feel the same level of satisfaction. This is why people who chase comfort are never satisfied. They keep raising the bar of what they need to feel okay. The people who regularly experience discomfort have a lower baseline. Small comforts feel amazing. A hot shower after cold exposure feels like heaven. A meal after fasting tastes incredible. Rest after hard work feels earned. They experience more pleasure from less because their nervous system hasn't adapted to constant comfort. Robert also found writings from a Stoic philosopher named Seneca, who lived 2,000 years ago. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself, 'Is this the condition that I feared?'" Seneca understood the comfort trap. He recommended practicing voluntary discomfort regularly so that if you ever lost your comfort, you wouldn't be destroyed by it. He wrote, "The man who has learned to live with little cannot be robbed of happiness by fortune, but the man who requires constant comfort is a slave to his circumstances." By month 6, Robert was unrecognizable. He'd lost 35 pounds. He'd been promoted at work because he was taking on challenges everyone else avoided. His marriage was stronger than it had been in a decade because he was showing up fully instead of hiding in comfort. But more importantly, he felt like himself again. He felt like the person he was supposed to be before comfort trapped him. He started teaching the canon practice to others. His brother tried it and reported the same transformation. A co-worker tried it and said, "I didn't realize how weak I'd become until I started doing this." Robert created a small group of people committed to 90 days of daily discomfort. Out of 20 people who started, 14 completed it. All 14 reported that their lives had changed fundamentally. They felt stronger, more capable, more alive. The 6 who didn't complete it all had the same excuse. It was too hard. Robert would say, "That's the point. If it wasn't hard, it wouldn't work." Robert found research from a neuroscientist at Stanford who studies neuroplasticity. The researcher explained that the brain only changes when it's pushed beyond its current capacity. Comfort keeps you within your current capacity, so your brain never adapts. Discomfort forces adaptation. When you do something difficult, your brain creates new neural pathways to handle the difficulty. Over time, what used to be difficult becomes easy, and you're capable of more. This is why people who avoid discomfort stop growing. Their brain has no reason to change, while they're operating within their existing capacity forever. But people who seek discomfort are constantly forcing their brain to adapt. They're literally building new capabilities through voluntary hardship. The researcher also explained that discomfort activates something called the mammalian dive reflex when you're in cold water. This reflex calms your nervous system and teaches your body that it can handle stress without panicking. Over time, this carries over to all areas of life. You become someone who stays calm under pressure because you've trained your nervous system to handle discomfort without freaking out. 1 year after starting Canon, Robert was a completely different person. He'd started a side business that was growing rapidly. He'd run his first marathon. He'd rebuilt his relationship with his kids, who used to barely talk to him. He'd become the person people came to for advice because he radiated capability and confidence. But the most profound change was philosophical. Robert no longer saw comfort as desirable. He saw it as dangerous. He understood that the comfortable path was always the path of stagnation. The uncomfortable path was always the path of growth. Every single day, he looked for opportunities to choose difficulty, not because he enjoyed suffering, but because he'd learned that discomfort was the price of aliveness. Takeshi's words had proven true. Comfort makes you fragile, discomfort makes you strong. A researcher at Oxford who studies meaning and fulfillment explains that humans don't actually want comfort. They want growth, challenge, and the satisfaction that comes from overcoming difficulty. But modern society has confused comfort with happiness. We've built entire lives around avoiding discomfort, and then we wonder why we feel empty. The researchers' studies show that the happiest people aren't the most comfortable people. They're the people who regularly challenge themselves and overcome obstacles. The sense of accomplishment from doing something difficult is far more satisfying than the temporary pleasure of comfort. But most people never experience this because they've been trapped in comfort for so long, they've forgotten what it feels like to grow. Robert found a quote from Theodore Roosevelt that captured everything he'd learned. Roosevelt said, "Nothing in the world is worth having or worth doing unless it means effort, pain, difficulty. I have never in my life envied a human being who led an easy life. I have envied a great many people who led difficult lives and led them well. An easy life isn't a good life, it's a small life. A difficult life chosen voluntarily is where greatness lives." The question now is, are you ready to escape the comfort trap? Are you ready to admit that your comfortable life is killing your potential? Because here's the truth. You already know you've gotten too soft. You already know you avoid difficulty whenever possible. You already know that deep down you're capable of so much more than you're currently doing. But you've chosen comfort over capability for so long that you've forgotten what you're made of. The Canon practice will remind you. 7 daily discomforts for 90 days. Wake up immediately. Cold shower. Exercise, healthy meals you don't enjoy, difficult conversation, procrastinated task, screen-free hour before bed. Do these for 90 days, and you'll become someone who seeks discomfort instead of avoiding it. You'll become anti-fragile. You'll become alive again. If you're going to do this, I want you to comment below with one specific discomfort you're going to start tomorrow. Not all 7, just one. Make it public. That's your commitment. Then add one more each week until you're doing all 7. Don't try to do everything at once. Build gradually. But build without stopping. 90 consecutive days. No exceptions. If you miss a day, start over. The system only works if you're uncompromising. Subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and get ready to escape the comfort trap. Remember, comfort isn't safety. Comfort is a slow death disguised as success. Discomfort is the only path to growth. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for your attention. See you in the next video.